Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, Chapter 21. And it was a fun chapter. It was good. I think it was informative and entertaining in general. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So the first half of this chapter was basically just information. It was a lot of information coming at you real quick and hot. And I'm just going to go over what we got going on here. Okay, so the 5 god dragons were basically dragons that had fled Ishgar while Acnologia was going off on everybody 400 years ago, so we're give or take. And then they fled to Giltina, and they just basically hunkered down there for the 400 plus years that have been going on here. We learned a little bit about dragon mating. Apparently, when they do mate, the males actually leave the female and the baby to basically just kind of live their lives. We learned this in the context of Igneous having never really met Igneous, so there's a lot of tension between Natsu and Igneous, where it's like technically Igneous is his real true son by blood, and even though he really doesn't care about Igneous, he could still say that. Meanwhile, Natsu, who was raised by Igneous, is really has a much more emotional and familial tie to Igneous. That being said, I think the two of them will have some real issues going forward, and I think it'll be really fun and interesting to see what happens. So, over the 400 years that have spanned, with Igneous and all the other parent dragons having gone to the future with their Dragon Slayer children, the 5 god dragon slayers basically stuck around after all the other dragons died, and they kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and 400 years of just like training, I guess, or just living their lives has basically given them this crazy amount of power, and at this point they are all much stronger than Acnologia. And that brings me to my next point. It turns out that Igneous was actually going to try to take revenge against Acnologia, but he had missed his chance because Natsu and the other Dragon Slayers, they just took care of it themselves. So this basically tells us one thing, at least one thing. Natsu and the other Dragon Slayers and everybody else are never going to be able to defeat the 5 god dragons. End of story. They barely defeated Acnologia, and he was supposed to be much stronger than all the other regular dragons, and it's just not going to happen. Something in the story is going to turn away from them fighting these dragons in general. Even if they all turn out to be jerks other than Mercuphobia, it doesn't matter. They're not going to defeat them. And I don't even think they're going to be able to defeat, if he turns out to be a bad guy, that old Dragon Slayer dude that was the original person that made a guild or whatever. The guy that gave them their quest to go fight these dragons. So I don't think that they'll be able to defeat any of these dragon-esque characters. And that's just kind of it. I don't know what's going to happen. Whether they just all chill out and live together, or whether it's just maybe some of the dragons take each other out. We'll have to see, but I don't think that they're going to have any idea as to how they're going to defeat these dragons, if they even wanted to at this point anyways. Another bit of information, though, is that we got, apparently, dragons of old, 400 plus years ago, theoretically could turn into humans, or at least human forms, and that's why Mercuphobia can do it, that's why Igneous can do it, and Natsu kind of like rebuffs that and says Igneous couldn't do that. Why? That's not a thing that's not a thing that dragons can do. Igneous basically says, no, he probably, he doesn't outright say that Igneous could have, but I get the feeling that technically Igneous theoretically could have if he really wanted to. I don't know. I mean, it's not a concept that they really talked about as far as dragons turning into people beforehand. It's always been a thing of, dragon slayers who are humans can turn into dragons, hence Acnologia. But they've never really talked about the other way around, and I wonder if there's if that's just the dragon trait that they all have, or whether it's some kind of special magic that they have to learn, and it just so happens that the 5 god dragons have this ability. Igneous' portion of the chapter ends with him basically outright challenging Natsu, saying he wants to fight him, and with or without this outright challenge, they were gonna fight no matter what. They both claim to be Igneous' son, both for wildly different reasons. And it's just something's going to come to a head eventually, and they're going to have to fight. It doesn't matter. And I'm sure it'll be the most interesting thing in the world. Essentially two fire dragons going at each other. And I think it'll be really cool. And it's a really weird situation because, like, Ignia wants to fight Natsu, but he acknowledges that Natsu's nowhere near ready for this. And he basically tells Natsu to get stronger. And he actually kind of pokes fun a little bit at the fact that, like, okay, well, you're not strong now, so how in the world did you, even if you worked as a team, you defeated Agnologia? So maybe fighting for your friends is what really gets you going and gets your blood boiling. Maybe I should try to kill one of your friends and give you a little bit more motivation, and he almost kills Happy, but Natsu stops him, and he's like, oh, see, it's a little bit stronger, but he basically just takes off after telling Natsu to get stronger, and whatever, they're going to fight each other eventually. I'm trying to decide whether I'm excited for this or not. I guess it depends on how things unfold going forward. I want to see more of Mercuphobia, honestly, than I am interested in Ignia, but we'll see how things go. After Ignia leaves, Natsu begrudgingly eats all of Ignia's fire that he had left for him because that was supposed to give Natsu a big power-up, and it does, and so he sucks it all up, and just starts going to town on Mercuphobia. He just starts going all over the place, and everybody's just shock and awe, and I'm not surprised that this is a thing. It just seems like the kind of thing that, like, okay, well, they need to wrap this up, so obviously the flames are going to give him this superpower. But I'm okay with it because then he does this crazy whip thing with Mercuphobia, and he just basically whips him down into the ground and just takes him out, and I thought that was a really cool part of the action. Now, we leave off the chapter with everybody shock and awe, like I said, of Natsu taking down this god dragon. Clearly not of his own power, technically, because he sucked up all that Ignia god dragon power. But it's certainly impressive, and everybody's taking note of this and how impressive he is in his display of power. However, one of them is not so much, and I think this is not so subtly foreshadowing something bad going down with Natsu and this power, because Lucy is clearly not about it. She seems really, really worried that something's just not quite right. He's really powerful at this point in time, and it's gonna go away. Eventually he'll go back to being his old self. But it's certainly a different kind of power. He's definitely gone into Dragon Force mode because he's got the scales all over him. But what's different is now he's got this like black markings on him, and I think that's coming partially from Ignia's tattoos, and it's just a design thing. But I think it's definitely showing that there's something different about this. They were not normal flames that he ate. They were god dragon flames. And even if they were just regular dragon flames, it's something different. It's certainly not just a regular fire that somebody made, but it's certainly something different. And I think if there's gonna have some kind of repercussions that maybe even just later down the line show up again. But I'm definitely seeing that there's something's gonna happen. It's not being very subtle in terms of they're hinting at something bad happening with this power, and I'm wondering if maybe he either gets drunk on the power, or maybe it just takes over him, or something crazy. But I definitely see something's definitely not going to be right with this. Maybe it even burns him out. Maybe it's so powerful, and it just burns him right out, and they basically have to just rush home after all of this, and he's not going to be in great shape. Especially since Lucy says this is the very first time that she's been afraid of him. So I get the feeling he's gonna like lose control. Something's gonna go down where maybe this like unleashes something inside of him, and his particular fire dragon slaying magic is now being corrupted by Ignia's magic, and there's something going on. There's definitely gonna be something that happens later down the line. It's too out in your face to not happen. overall, I thought this chapter was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I think it's wrapping up the water god dragon stuff pretty neatly. There's probably going to be some ending stuff in the next chapter just to kind of get them moving toward their next goal. But I definitely think this helped wrap things up pretty well. And I'm interested to see more of Ignia, but now I'm more interested to see backstories of the other 3 god dragons. I want to know what their specific magics are. Do they all have magic? Like, I theorized, and I think the last video, that maybe all of their magic is actually what God Serena's magic is. So there's Purgatory, which is fire, Cavern, which I think is earth, I think it's a sea dragon, I think he called it, which would be water, and then a lightning dragon, and I think a wind, but I can't remember. Either way, I'm wondering if, like, his... Either way, I'm wondering if his magic was sort of a subtle hint at what's going to happen with these dragons. It could be an interesting twist, and maybe they bring him back up despite him being dead. Anyways. But I certainly am more interested in the lore of the god dragons now that I know a little bit more of their backstory. I'm excited to see what happens. I want to see more of Mercuphobia anyways, because I think he's a really cool character, and I like his both of his designs, his human design and his dragon design. Really, really good. Anyways, that's really all I got to say about this chapter now that I've gone down the run through. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section of this chapter. Where do you think this is going to go? Do you think Ignia and Natsu's fight eventually will be interesting? I'm just trying to see of, like, what kind of fight would they do where it wouldn't just be a boring, like, brawl and be predictable. I'm hoping that maybe there's some kind of twist that happens later down the line that maybe I'm not seeing right now. Either way, let me know what you guys are thinking about this chapter and beyond. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Lets me know that you guys are enjoying this video. And remember to subscribe if you want to see more from me. That's all I gotta say. I will see you guys in another video. Bye-bye.